Coming home, that first game at home, I think, you know, your spirit's got to be high. I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say exactly what I saw. I just felt like we didn't have the right spirit throughout the entire game.
You know, we're all just trying to gel, and usually you're gelling around the right time, and that team in the other locker room is gelling at the right time. They've been gelling since Christmas. So for us, we're just in a new experience as a group, and we just got to respect that and just, you know, bring everything we can to this next game and just do one possession at a time. You know, I don't want to be too cliche, but I don't have a lot of answers for how you make up time, you know, from October until now.
Hey, Boy Manning here. Josue Pavn by my side, CLNS Media. Celtics All Access's The Garden Report after the Celtics beat the Nets 109-103 and sent Brooklyn down 0-3.
Yo, verge of elimination, Bobby.
Needing to do the impossible.
How do we get here? Craziness.
Yeah, this isn't a post-mortem, but more of a what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
Durant, as we mentioned in the recap video, 11 shot attempts. Kyrie in the end. Another quiet effort as we look at the stat sheet here. 6 for 17, 16 points. 5 fouls, too, quickly, early in the fourth quarter. Another quiet, I don't want to say non-factor, but close to it performance from Kyrie as well. And a great effort from Bruce Brown. Nick Claxton got going for a little while, but you saw the unreliability of those guys. Brown hits a three-point attempt off glass late. Claxton misses a pair of layups that sent this game swinging in the wrong direction for Brooklyn. And overall, the turnover flurry in the fourth quarter there just sent the Celtics sprinting to a victory. Nets, for large stretches of this game, got run off the court. I love what Ime Udoka said, too. Was asked, are the Nets grasping for something with that Blake Griffin stint? And he said, yeah, they're just trying to outscore us. They're trying to race us in points. Fair point. Brooklyn can't defend. I think we've learned that at this point. But their stars, the underperformance of these stars, I think, is what startled all of us and what has allowed the series to get to 3-0.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, Bobby, about, you know, maybe this is that time where this, you know, the generation of the Tatums and the Jaylen Brown, they start to take over, you know. And that's not to say that these guys are over the hill, like guys like Durant and Irving, but I think it says that they're going to need a bit more, you know, and that maybe adding veteran guys or the ones that they have already, like the Dragiches and the, you know, Drummonds and Blake Griffins, like that just wasn't ideal for them, you know, trying to keep up with the rest of the teams in the Eastern Conference, the top tier teams. Now, obviously, you can go down the list of things that went wrong, whether it's, you know, Kyrie not being able to play, you know, a handful of games because he's not vaccinated, or
ton of games.
I'm trying to keep it limited, but you know what I mean, like, or James Harden wanting out, like none of that stuff's ideal. So you sort of have to pick up the pieces there. But at the same time, it's like, you look at this bench before the start of the season, and it was sort of like, well, they were pretty thin. You know, you knew it was going to be more top heavy. You knew guys like Durant and Irving were going to have to pick up the slack. And when Harden left and when Ben Simmons, you know, isn't in uniform, everyone had to pick up the slack. And I just feel like there wasn't enough there. And man, talk about a team like the Celtics exposing all of that, you know, in such little time. Whether, you know, you were a believer that this thing was a wrap after game 2, or whether you're sitting there after game 3 saying, like, how can the Nets even put together a win at this point? That's all the Celtics. That's all by the Celtics' design. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't the Celtics. Collapsing or not collapsing. This isn't the Celtics capitalizing on their miscomings. This is the Celtics snatching it from them. And I think that's the most important thing. That's the most important thing to take away if you're Ime, if you're Tatum, if you're Marcus, you know, guys that lead this team. It's like, man, we're not only out to you know, knock off the Nets because of what happened in the past. And not only is this thing a rivalry, but we're one of the top teams. We're one of the top teams in the NBA, not just the East. And I think they're out to send that message to everybody. And I think that Brooklyn Nets, you know, the fact that Celtics being able to expose them the way that they have is telling, because you're not quite sure if this team's going to be around next year. They have to really answer some questions during the offseason, whether they're going to blow this thing up or not, because that's a legitimate chance that's going to happen.
And we'll get to that once the series ends. For now, though, it's the way they handle things in this series. No attention to detail on the defensive end. I think Durant deserves a ton of criticism for the way he played in this game. Passive, not locked in on defense. The way you let Tatum go by him in game 1 now, still looking back on that, was just a huge blunder. And I had questions about where he's at defensively at this point in his career. Kyrie, is there a checkout factor here? He was so good in game 1. has all those issues in the Garden. In Game 2, he's out of the fold. In Game 3, it felt very similar here. And if the Celtics deserve credit for anything, it's demoralizing the Nets enough to make them wonder, all right, is this even worth it?
Right.
And I think we're starting to see that.
Yeah.
You see it in Ben Simmons' hesitancy to come back. So the Nets, you were at the shoot-around today, they keep saying, when he's ready, we want him to be ready. They're waiting on him.
Yeah.
It's so clear right now. Durant, Irving, how much fight's left there? And then the lack of commitment to their role guys.
Right.
We're setting up Claxton and Brown for a half here, and then we're going to go back to some ISO ball. And there's just no real plan. Oh, Blake Griffin, we'll pull him out of left field. You know the disdain I have for this group, Josue. Like, it's a strong word, but it's a despicable group. It really is.
Well, they lack direction. I mean, look, obviously everyone can talk about Steve Nash. I mean, look, what's the identity of this team? I mean, we don't quite know. Like, what's Nash's thing? You know, Sherrod on the Garden Report was just like, he's just a bad coach. I'm just like, well, I mean,
he
he's
gets
not a
a
good
bad
one.
rap.
He hasn't been a great one for these guys.
He's a product of Irving and Durant's desires.
And this is their hand-picked head coach.
Yes.
Like, that's the thing. It's like, well, from the very beginning, he never had the keys to this thing. You know, the Durant and the Kyrie Irvings, you know, of the world were driving this vehicle. And look, we've seen similar cases in the past throughout, you know, the course of the NBA. And, you know, that's rarely the recipe for a championship team, but we just didn't quite expect this. And I think a lot of that has to do with, again, maybe it's just a generational thing where, like, a lot of the teams in the East have just caught up. You know, it's not about putting together the next super team anymore. It's about building an identity of a team. It's almost more like old school, right? I think Nick Josue would love that, that the way the NBA is turning right now, where it's just about everyone being accountable, guys knowing their job, their responsibility, and just coming together as a group. I mean, look at the champions right now, right? I mean, the Milwaukee Bucks, I mean, that's what they did. That's what got them to the NBA Finals last year. And I just feel like the old school mentality of, you know, bring a couple superstars together, let them handpick their roster, and just let them deal with it. I mean, look what the Lakers tried to do, you know? I just think those days are over. I really do.
Yep, it's definitely a difference in how these two teams are built here.
Yeah.
Homegrown talent on the Boston side.
I feel like I'm going on a tirade right
Brooklyn.
now. Sorry, Bobby. There's a lot on my mind right now.
Yeah, veterans, guys a little over the hill. Blake,
Yeah.
LaMarcus, they've all been sitting on the bench, unable to contribute. Goran Dragic, as you mentioned, spurts of good play in this series, and then other parts where he's been a complete non-factor. So we can go on and on about all the failures, and we can talk about 3 years of misfortune in Brooklyn. But there's really only one question left in this series. Is Ben Simmons going to play in Game 4?
That's the question. I thought you were going to say, is this a sweep or not? I don't think so. I really don't, Bobby. I mean,
No, he's not going to.
yeah, I don't think so.
So there we have it.
I'm going to say no.
I thought there was a chance after blowing a 17-point lead that the Nets would lay down their arms and fade from this series completely, and they're one game away from doing that here. We will see if they can force this series back to Boston. I'm not counting on it, but they'll have a chance to here at Barclays Center Monday, 7 o'clock.
Let's see if we
Could
have
the
to come back
Celtics
here
advance?
next week. I don't know, Bobby. I don't think.
Oh, never mind. Back to Boston's the first step there. Com.com/garden, 40% off a premium subscription. If you're a Nets fan, you're going to need this right now, and I know quite a few who are fuming.
Use the promo code.
40% off, com.com/garden.
You don't have to tell anybody.
It's bleak, but Com offers hope. Yoga, meditation, anything you need to relax, they're going to provide it for you there. Josue Pavn, Manning, Celtics All Access, CLNS Media. This has been the Garden Report.